it's a Sunday afternoon and I'm pretty bored and the weather sucks. So I'm tidying up my office a little bit and going through stuff I don't need, stuff that I can sell or give away or throw away. There's this PC which was going to be thrown out from work and I thought, oh, I'll take it, I'll find a use for it. I turned it into like a home theater PC. Not in my living room, it was actually here in my office. It's got Windows 10 on there. So this is it. This is the system. I'm holding it upside down. Hang on. So what is it? It's a Dell Vostro, whatever. That really doesn't matter. Basically Optiplex guts, but in this sort of trendy case. You can orient it either landscape or portrait. It's a second gen i5. I think it's got like 4 gig of RAM. It can only fit like a half-size PCI, like the low profile type. The motherboard looks like it's something that I can take out and transplant it into something a lot more interesting and flexible. So what this video is me figuring out what the hell I'm gonna do with this thing, because I don't really have a use for it, but I don't have the heart to just throw it out. I know that I could throw it out and forget about it and move on with my life, but that's not what this channel's about. That's not what I want it to be about. I want to find a use for every system. As per usual, I want to turn it into a retro gaming machine. Obviously, my goal is to have these PCs be able to be used in my LAN party setups. And the reason why I sort of have so many is because things go wrong and they shit themselves and you get weird issues. I mean, it happened at the last LAN party. We had a system which just wouldn't connect to a server. And like, I know my way around a network and everything seemed fine, but I was messing with the like Windows XP firewall and it would not connect to a server on the local network. I couldn't figure it out. It needs to be basically wiped and rebuilt. But luckily I had a spare machine which I just pulled out of my garage, plugged it all in, and we were good to go. So these things do happen. I don't like to waste precious LAN party time fucking around with the technicalities of things. I just want to get into it and have a good time. And I want everyone participating to have a good time. So having those spare systems is a godsend. Looking at the back of the PC, you can see a blank slot. There was a wireless card there, which I don't care about. I have a few of these low profile graphics cards, but the catch is I've only got the full height plates for these. So not terribly useful to me. And even then, those graphics cards aren't all that much better than just the Intel integrated graphics with that i5 that's in there. First thing we're gonna do is actually open this thing up and see if the motherboard's like standard, because with Dell, they like to do things weird. So let's clear my workbench and crack this thing open. Here's the system. I'm not gonna bore you with the details or even fire it up just yet. We're just gonna open it up and take a look and see what we're working with. I think I put an SSD in at some point. Yeah. So it's been sitting around for a few months. I thought I'd get a lot more use out of it. Looking at this motherboard right now, it does look like a standard sort of ATX. I might just test the power supply just in case to see if it's a funny pinout. That's what I'm always afraid of. We can see that the voltage readout matches up. 12 volts is 12 volts, 3.3 is 3.3, and 5 volts is 5 volts. So standard power supply pinout, I should think. I'm gonna just say that this is a pretty safe motherboard to take out of this case and put into something a little bit more useful, a little bit more interesting for us. Let's have a look where to begin. I think what I might do is get these, first is get this front faceplate off by using these clips here. This is a fun little detail. If you don't know, you can actually spin the Dell logo around. So if you want to use this like flat like that, you can swap that around, kind of like the PlayStation 2. So that 500 gig drive is out. We've got an SSD in here, which is actually screwed in. This is being held in by 3 screws. So this unclips and pulls right out. I mean, the system's not that old. It's probably, I say not that old. With respect to my channel, it's not that old. It's, I think, from around 2012 or 2013, around that period of time. So not Windows XP era, but we'll see if that will be possible. Front panel audio looks standard. So we should be able to, you know, if the case that I decide to put this motherboard in, if it has the front panel audio, it should be drop in, good to go. Looks like the standard sort of AC 97 or the standard HD audio, whatever. We've got like the front panel USB, which looks standard to me. And then another front panel USB, which I'm assuming is for the card reader that lives at the front. The fan connector is not proprietary. That's fun. That's like regular 3-pin fan. Now this is the one I am worried about. This is very non-standard and it's not labeled on the motherboard, but I'm hoping that I can either figure it out on my own or someone online's already done it for me. This video is not planned at all. Anyway, moving right along. Let's unplug this power supply. Don't need that. And get the comically long screwdriver out. Okay, very good. That came out pretty painlessly. Just a little Dell motherboard. Nothing exciting or interesting about this whatsoever. Ah yes, gotta love the mismatched RAM sticks. That's definitely my doing right there. So that's everything out of this case that I wanted to take, except this fan, which I'll remove. I think I'll just leave the power supply in here. It serves no purpose for me, and it's basically only useful for this weird form factor, the I/O shield. Come on. God, that's in there good. There we go. The I/O shield. And I like that it actually says the model on there, the Vostro 260S. So whatever I put this motherboard in will know its origins. Its origins shall never be forgotten. There we go. Free fan. Just like that. I've found a case and a power supply, which I'll show you in a second, but I was doing some research on this motherboard and apparently they used the same motherboard for some of the Inspirons around this time and Optiplexes around this time. And I guess the only differences is the BIOS or whatever is changed to say what model it is on boot up. But anyway, moving along, this here's the front panel connector, and I don't know if this crappy DSLR footage is anything to go off of, but they're not labeled. I believe I know what the power pins are. If I can at least get that out of the way, then I'll be happy. Anything else, I don't care. I don't care about power LEDs or anything like that. There's a speaker on board, so I don't have to worry about that, which is nice. This is the case that I had sitting in my garage. Kind of looks like an old Nokia phone from the early 2000s. And this was the power supply that I believe came with this case. Just right off the bat, by the squeezability of this metal, I can tell you that it's not the best power supply. Right, so let's get this case open and try and get the motherboard in there. I've installed the shady power supply in here. We've got the Dell Vostro motherboard just sat in there. I've just got to screw it all in, and then I'll see if I can figure out the pinouts and get this thing to boot. And then from there, we'll start throwing hard drives in and that sort of stuff. All right, moment of truth. Let's see if that power button is going to work. Oh yeah. Okay, so that pinout seems to be correct. Keyboard failure. Yeah, everything's gonna fail because nothing's connected. I had to repin the power LED on the little connector, but that's all good. That's working, which is kind of fun. I don't know where the reset switch is meant to go, and I don't really want to sort of poke around too much. I don't even think the original Dell case had a reset button. I'm sure I could find it, but I don't really want to waste my time on that. So this is a good sign. We've got a post, basically. Time to get some hard drives in here and take a look at the BIOS. So looking at the BIOS, I believe A10 is the latest version that we can get on here from 2013. We can see the i5 2400 CPU that's in there. We've got 6 gigs of RAM, which is fine. I don't have any hard drives or anything plugged in. But when we switch to the advanced tab, we can see we don't get a lot of useful options to us. And the first thing that worries me, because I want to put Windows XP on this thing, is that there's no option to change how the hard drive controller is going to work. What I'm looking for here is an IDE sort of emulation mode, sometimes called compatibility mode in some motherboards. And we don't get that at all. We just sort of have enable or disable functions. None of this is useful to me. What I'm going to do is put in the hard drive that I had in the other Dell. It's going to be wiped anyway, but this is what's going to be the boot drive. So I'll put that one in first. I do have this other secondary hard drive, just some Samsung 500 gig, which I'll be using as a backup drive. I think for airflow, I might actually put this fan in that we removed. I didn't think I would, but now that I'm seeing these 2 hard drives in here and there is a space at the front, I might actually get this front panel off and install this fan just so we've got a bit of extra airflow. So first hurdle that I've noticed with the drives is we've only got the one SATA connector. This might be a problem, but I do have some of those adapters. So I did find this Molex to SATA adapter. It's one of these better ones where the cables are actually clamped in here versus the plastic molded around them, because I have heard of them actually shorting out and catching on fire. So much so that there's a bit of a saying, Molex to SATA, forget your data, I think is the saying. But anyway, keep that in mind if you ever want to use one of these adapters, that it's one of these sort of clamp connector type ones. I don't know if that's even what they're called, but definitely not the plastic molded ones. Another thing worth noting is this case has a slot for a floppy drive. This motherboard's way too new to even entertain a floppy connector, but just for the lols, I'm going to put in this beige floppy disk drive, just because it'll annoy me otherwise. I try to avoid using floppy disks wherever I can. They annoy me more than they bring me joy, so I'm not that bothered. Obviously this black plastic doesn't look very good, but what can you do? So for the time being, I'm going to install one of these nondescript AMD Radeon graphics cards. It's got that annoying DMS59 connector on the front, which I should have an adapter lying around somewhere for that. So that's going to go in for the time being. Just with that power supply that's in there, I don't want to push it too hard. I don't trust that it's actually 400 watts, but I'm just going to chuck this in because this will definitely be better than the Intel HD graphics that are in there at the moment. We've got both hard drives detected. Normally we wouldn't even get this far if there was some weird compatibility issue with the storage controller. Another thing that I've noticed, which is weird, is that there's disk 0, ID 0, bus 0. So they're all, I'm assuming these are the 2 separate drives that I've got in here. I'm just going to install it on the one up here. So let's create a full partition NTFS. So let's hope that that goes well, and I'll come back to this very shortly. Okay, so the system actually did reboot, but I couldn't use the keyboard and mouse. So what I did was I connected a PS2 keyboard via a PS2 to USB adapter, and now suddenly the other USB mouse is working. So I have no idea. It will remain a mystery to me, but we'll let this part of the setup do what it has to do and then see how it goes. Okay, so a couple of things have changed since I was recording. So installed all the drivers successfully. I've actually replaced that crappy AMD Radeon 5450 with this R9 200 and something GPU. I'm really hoping that the shitty power supply that I've got in there is going to hold up. So a little bit of time has passed and I basically strapped myself to the beast, loaded it up with a bunch of games from a great range of years. I'm not going to go through all of them because this isn't a gaming channel after all. Got a nice little Dell LCD. It's 1440 by 900. I've got the Microsoft wireless multimedia keyboard and mouse, which is very on brand for the Windows XP era. I know that these mice aren't the best for gaming, but look, if you got to put yourself in the shoes of a Windows XP user, it's just one of those sacrifices you have to make. So I'm going to try Counter-Strike 1.6 here. I do have Fraps running, you'll see in the corner of the screen. I do have VSync enabled, which is making this gameplay buttery smooth. I'm loving how this looks. I'm playing the bad team. I'm one of the baddies. There we go. 2 against 1. Oh. Yeah, Counter-Strike 1.6 running beautifully, of course. It's always really bizarre seeing that logo on a system this sort of modern. Look at that, 60 frames per second on a game designed for the 3DFX cards. I do find it interesting because I usually play this era of games on an actual older PC versus, you know, the guts from this thing's only about 10 years old. I've never actually played this game before, so I've not been paying attention to where I have to go or what I have to do. I'm starting to think that maybe I'm not as seasoned of a gamer as I think I might be. This is Quake 2. Now I do have it running on a little tool called nGlide, which lets you use the 3DFX Glide API instead of something like OpenGL. And it basically runs on top of DirectX 9 and looks fantastic. I'm not very good at Quake 2, but perfect 60 FPS, so I can't complain. SimCity 3000. I absolutely love this game. I mean, I've run this game on a Pentium 3 and just looking at that frame rate in the top corner, real gamers play SimCity at 500 frames per second. That's how it works. Alrighty, so COD 4. I'm running this at a lower resolution this time, 1024 by 768, stretched out. But when you think about it, you know, the Xbox 360 and the PlayStation 3, the two consoles that a lot of people played this game on, would have been basically at this resolution anyway. And honestly, it's looking fine. But off the bat, it's super smooth and like looks really good compared to, say, that other system, that Core 2 system that I did 2 videos back. That just looked atrocious. Simpsons Hit and Run. I've actually never played this game before. This was basically Grand Theft Auto for kids whose parents wouldn't let them have Grand Theft Auto. My parents were responsible enough to buy me Grand Theft Auto at the age of 8 years old. I was very lucky in that regard. I'm fine now though, not violent. I steal the occasional car, but you know, just old habits die hard. Oh, I probably should have fixed that resolution. What am I doing? I don't know why it's running Windows. Okay, disable tutorial. Do I have to talk to Marge? Yes, okay. So you can see off the bat, we're running at a solid 60 frames per second. The way the camera moves feels a little bit clunky, but I think it's just because I'm used to those Grand Theft Auto games and their way of doing things. Unreal Tournament 2004. They never have the exact resolution. I find that so annoying. Capture the Flag. It's gonna have to be Face Classic. It's the one that I always choose when I want a quick Unreal Tournament sesh. I just grab some weapons really quickly. You can really feel the delay of this wireless mouse against my brain, which is used to that sort of higher DPI mouse. I'm still having fun, and that's all that matters. Look at that guy camping up there. And they've got our flag this entire time. This isn't good. This isn't good. Oh, come on, let's get that health pack. Let's go, let's go, let's go. Oh yeah, big Kego health. That is probably one of the best power-ups in any first-person shooter ever. Just a big... What am I doing? Well... Never mind. Overall, I would say I'm pretty happy with how this PC performs with Windows XP. However, I do feel that the system's almost a little bit wasted with Windows XP and its compatible games. So to be honest with you, XP is what's on here and it's likely what's going to stay till the end of time. Anyway, that's enough from me for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you like this kind of thing, feel free to like and subscribe and whatever. I don't care. I don't pay attention to that. But yeah, see you in the next video. Anyway, back to Highway Pursuit.